What's up, everybody? It's Noah back again with another installment of the Thought Bubbles series. For those of you who are new, which hopefully maybe there is new people or maybe there's not. Basically, this is kind of a series where I'm exploring some topics that I really want to talk about or kind of think through a little bit more in detail. And so I'm kind of treating this video and I guess like the whole channel so far as a whole as kind of just like a video essay journaling type of exercise for me. So this is episode 5, and I'm probably gonna try and make this like a regular occurring thing, but I kind of want to just like give a brief life update before getting into everything like that is the main kind of thesis point of the video. But if you ended up watching the past couple of episodes that I filmed, the last week's been kind of up and down for me. Kind of been having a lot of rough happenings at work, and I think it was a lot of basically like the accumulation of a lot of small things that kind of just added up over time. And so I ended up having a pretty hard week, I think, in terms of my mental health and such. So took some time just to kind of like relax and unwind over the weekend. Use the mental health toolkit, which if you watch episode 4, you would know is very, very important. Everyone should have one. But if you want to know what's in mine, you can go watch that video. But basically, this one is more so for uh, something else. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But basically, I went bowling, which was kind of to go and help unwind, and I shot a cool 241, which is my personal best so far. Still getting back into it, but we're kind of getting better over time. And then yeah, it kind of helped to reset things, and this week's been going a little bit better. So hopefully, we can keep it going strong for the rest of the week. I guess as like a precursor to, there's like a whole thing going on outside. There's like a baseball game and a track meet, so hopefully there's not going to be too much background noise. But if you hear anything, that's probably what it is. But yeah. Anyway, to the main focus of the video. The main focus of the video, I don't know what I titled it because I usually just title it after, but basically it's centered around the question of to what do our friends owe us, or like to what do we owe our friends. And basically, without kind of going into too much detail because it's like a whole situation that kind of doesn't apply to me but applies to me. um we had a discussion in our friend group, and it's kind of been like a topic that's been like coming up here and there, like not super often where it's like an everyday thing, but it was kind of a question that came up of basically like to what do we owe our friends in terms of like, if let's say they're going through a tough time, do we like, are we responsible for like, always being the first one to reach out in that sense, or stuff like that, certain small things which I kind of want to explore a little bit more. But basically, um I think to start, I guess like the point that I have on the idea of to what do we owe our friends personally, from like, I view it as kind of like two different things of like from me to someone else and someone else to me. So I agree with what one of my friends ended up saying, which was a really, really good quote, which was basically like saying, we should only give what we're comfortable giving. And I think that's really, really like, I don't know if powerful is the right word, but I kind of resonate with it the most because I think that, if you're not comfortable being the first one to reach out, you shouldn't be the one being expected to kind of be the one to start the conversation about things. Or like, let's say, one of your friends is kind of having a rough day or whatever and wants to like ramble about something. Like, yes, it's like, it seems like a bare minimum that like you should hear them out, but like, let's say they're also having a rough day too, they shouldn't feel like obliged, I think, to basically be your personal therapist, if that makes sense. Of course, I think it's like varying levels of like being able to hear somebody out in that sense of not necessarily like just like being there to listen, but also like as a kind of source of, I don't know if therapy is the right word, but like offer up advice of your own, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it really, for me, I only make it as far. How do I put this? Like, sorry, I'm like thinking this through in real time. But basically, I only want to. You give basically what you are comfortable giving in a friendship in terms of care for the other person, or like, let's say like buying gifts, right? Like, I think we had a discussion one time about buying gifts for people on their birthdays, and if you're not comfortable kind of using that kind of medium in terms of gift giving as your kind of way to show appreciation for your friend, you shouldn't have that expectation, if that makes sense, right? Like for me, I feel more comfortable, especially where I'm at, especially like financially and kind of just like how I express my appreciation for other people in buying gifts or like, if something's a little bit more expensive, I'll be like, hey, I'm willing to chip in a little bit more. And like that's kind of where I'm at. But I think on the other hand, it shouldn't apply to everybody where like, it's an expectation that we spend like X amount of dollars on dinner or like gifts or stuff like that, right? Like I feel like it should always be individualized to whatever we personally are comfortable giving to the other person in terms of both like material things, like I mentioned, and then also kind of what I mentioned earlier, which was the more mental health aspect of lending an ear or kind of offering up advice. And if you're not comfortable like speaking on a topic or giving your opinion, like you shouldn't be forced to. You know what I'm saying? Like if like we're talking about a lot of things, especially when you get towards like um, things to do with like maybe your identity, like your sexuality or what you identify as, or maybe topics that like people aren't as comfortable talking about or like don't have enough knowledge to really give an informed take. And so they kind of refrain from things. Like it shouldn't be an expectation that like all of these things, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's pretty much just like whatever you want to, whatever you're willing to give or offer up to a friend, that should be like what the expectation is for them. On the other side, I think, which was my kind of main talking point that didn't come from my friend, although, I agree with his take because it's a really good take and I agree. But basically, the way I kind of saw it was basically, wow, I said basically twice. Anyway, what I thought about it was from the other side of instead of to what do our friends owe us, which is basically a kind of inward looking outward take. It was more so in the sense of what should we expect from our friends. And my thoughts on it was to not really place expectations on people we would consider friends or family or things like that. And the reason I have this kind of take, it sounds strange because I think when I first said it, it seems mainly that my take is just that we shouldn't expect things from people, which is kind of a sad take because, when you make friends or have friends or family or whatever, like you don't want the expectation to be like at the floor. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, um what's it like, for an example, like let's say like last week, right, I'm going through like a hard time and I want to talk to somebody. It should never be that like, oh, I don't expect this person to listen to me, so I'm just not going to tell them. Like that's not like what I'm trying to say. I think more so it has to do with the fact that um expecting people to match your level of intensity of what you're willing to give. So let's say, for example, I think in like going down the list, right, like the materialistic thing, like just because I'm comfortable giving out gifts and paying for things and et cetera, et cetera, it doesn't mean that like some I should expect the same thing from somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't expect my friends to be forthcoming and be like, I'm willing to spend more on a dinner on a gift or something like that. And the same thing goes for like when I think I got pretty lucky because I think a lot of my friend group is pretty high in terms of EQ and are like pretty good at voicing how they feel and talking through things and like being comfortable talking about those topics, which is like pretty rare for like a group of guys, I feel like. But we were kind of having like this whole discussion and it was like, how do I say it? It should, it's not really expected of me for like my friends as a whole, not just like my close friend group, but like most of the friends that I have like outside, that like the expectation is like they're willing to hear me out on these specific things or like want to talk through like maybe like something that's going wrong in my life or like anxiety things or something like that. And if they're not comfortable with it, like I shouldn't get frustrated with them because they're not willing to kind of give that part of the, I don't know if give them part of themselves is the right way to say it, but it's more so like if they're not willing to hear me out, then like it shouldn't be an expectation that I place on them where I'm getting upset because they don't meet my like expectation level. You know what I mean? Like I think it's the result of that of maybe you can have expectations in the sense of, you know, I would like a birthday party or I would like a gift, but I think it's unfair to then react to those kind of, how do I put it, like those standards that you set in your brain for them that they don't know about, and then if they don't meet it, then you get upset. I feel like that's really unreasonable. And so it should really just be, at the end of the day, like, yes, there are bare minimum things I think you should expect from your friends, but setting people to the same standard that you would set yourself at in terms of pretty much anything that you would have in a friendship or any relationship, and then having that be the bar and then getting upset at people for not meeting that bar is really unreasonable, I think, for me personally. I think instead what you should do is, you can, if you want to, set expectations. Personally, I don't like to, because I feel like setting kind of like goals or metrics for people is just kind of strange. Like, you should just be appreciative of when your friends are willing to hear you out, or like if your friends are willing to buy you a gift or buy you a birthday cake, like stuff like that. Like, you should be appreciative of those things, and it shouldn't be like a kind of like bar you need to hit to be your friend. And basically that's kind of my main point when I was talking about that. And then going back all the way to like the original point that I was making too, about to what really do we owe our friends personally. I think it was basically what my friend ended up saying, which I totally agree with. He's goaded for this take, but um, basically, you should be just willing to offer whatever is comfortable for you, because I think a lot of times too we can get into trouble if we're offering up more to try and please people. Because I used to be like that, where I was very much like a, I think in middle school and high school I was very much like a people pleaser type of person, where like I would want everyone to be happy. So even if it made me uncomfortable, I'd like stay up late and hear people out and like get on long calls and stuff like that, or like try to like mend things that really weren't my responsibility, but like because I felt like I needed to hit like a specific bar because we weren't like super close friends, then like it basically made me push my boundaries into places where like I was kind of struggling personally with my own mental health, and then things started to spiral. But I kind of learned over time that, you should really just give basically whatever you're comfortable with. And if something in a friendship makes you uncomfortable, like, you should voice that opinion and say, like, let's say like one of my friends comes to me and he said, "Hey, I'm having like a long day and I really like need to talk to you or get advice about something and like rant about something." But I know for me that like personally that I've also kind of had a rough day, and like it's hard to kind of fill someone else's cup or like help them out if yours is already full. So I've tried to be more open to the idea of saying like, "Hey, like, I'd love to hear you out, but like, today's been kind of rough for me, and if you want to like text me like a long summary just to get it off your chest, and I can go back and read it later and then kind of talk through that with you at a later time, but just like today is kind of a rough day." Or something like that. Like being able to not just um try to meet someone else's expectation or feel like you owe something to somebody else, and then instead just being comfortable with basically giving what you want to give. And if that means like staying up till 2 a.m. on a phone call talking about something stupid, like, that's what it means. You know what I mean? And if you're comfortable with that, you are. But if you're not, then you should have to feel no pressure of like having to meet someone else's standard, that even if like, especially if you find it unreasonable, like unreasonably high, like um you shouldn't feel the need to try and like meet that bar. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Although I will say, like, if someone expects you to, has like a really really high expectation for you personally, even if they don't think it's unreasonable and everyone else around you feels like it's like a, oh, it's such a low bar and it's like a bare minimum, like, if you personally aren't comfortable like with what they're expecting of you, leave, brother. Like, you're just gonna run into so much hurt, I feel like, if you try and push your comfort zone like really far, and then you just end up being like uncomfortable and hurting your mental. Like, if someone is expecting that of you, then like they're not actually your true friend, I feel like. And so yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. Just in summary, um to the original question, to what do we owe our friends, once again, just stick within your comfort zone. uh you shouldn't be expected to like meet like these like high bars for people. And on the same side, if you personally like, I guess, like, if you don't want to be held to that same bar, then you shouldn't hold that bar to other people. Is kind of like what my take is going to be. Is that like um having expectations for friends is kind of dangerous, and so like you shouldn't get upset if they don't meet like what you feel like your standard is going to be. And if you find yourself pushing your boundaries and like pushing your kind of limits on other people, chill a little bit. Like just let people be and let them give whatever they're comfortable giving to the relationship, whether that be friendships or romantic relationships or anything like that. But yeah, um, that's it. I think. Hope you guys listen or hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about this. I think I haven't really fleshed out all my ideas, but I feel like I got the main stuff that I wanted to get out there out of the way. But anyway, interested to hear, as always, what you guys have to say. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And hopefully you'll be here for the next thought bubble, which I may or may not probably be filming right after this. So thanks for watching again.